Hello, BookTube. I'm here to talk about another. It's a very short book, but it's one of the French uh, pieces of literature that Mark at Book Time with Aldous has decided to read this year, and I thought I'd go along and read with him. And most of them are rereads, as is this one, but it's been a long time since I read it. And it's a very short novel called Candide, and it was published in 1759, or first published in 1759. It purports to be a well, how does it start out here? That it's been translated into the French from German by a Dr. Ralph. Very German name, or a very French name, isn't it? But anyway, it's a satire, I guess you would say that, on sort of it makes a mockery of the Catholic Church, the Pope, the Inquisition. It's everything, and it's absurd at places, and that's what makes it very, very fun. It's very short, but it's along the lines of a very shortened, truncated version of, say, Rabelais' Gargantua Pantagruel. And it's concerned with the main character, Candide. He grows up in this beautiful castle, and he's got a philosophy tutor that he learns a lot from. And there's a lot of sexual innuendo through here, and it's not so much innuendo. It's pretty clear what's happening. Like right in the first couple pages, he's Candide's out walking, and he sees his let's see, his philosophy tutor, Dr. Pangloss, and the philosophy tutor's with a maid from the castle, and it says that it was to her mother's, or something, Dr. Pangloss giving a lesson to applied physiology to her mother's maid, a very pretty and very receptive little brunette. And then Candide sort of falls in love with the sort of the lord of the manor, in a sense, his daughter, and it says the next day after dinner, as they were leaving the table, Cunegonde and Candide found themselves behind a screen. Cunegonde dropped her handkerchief. Candide picked it up. Innocently, she took his hand. Innocently, the young man kissed the young lady's hand, and with quite singular vivacity, sensibility, and grace. Their mouths met, their eyes shone, their knees trembled, their hands strayed. But and sort of because of that, he gets kicked out of the castle, and he gets beaten. He gets picked up and forced in the army. He gets thrown in a dungeon, tortured every which way from Sunday, and then he meets his philosopher professor or tutor again, and he thought that he had probably been dead, but he found out that the an army had conquered the castle, tore it down to anything, and he says that Cunedine, that Candide had loved, was killed. She was raped repeatedly and had her intestines, her belly ripped open, and her intestines pulled out from her while she was sort of still alive, in a sense, and it's really gruesome, really gruesome. So he's not happy about that. Uh, but then like they get picked up by the Inquisition again, and philosopher teacher gets killed, and so he's alone. He meets this old woman who has one buttock, and then you find out that her buttock with other women that she was with in a harem. She was the daughter of a pope, but was cut off and used as food for soldiers. So it was either they could have killed all the women or just, lopped off a buttock and survived on that. Very bizarre, very bizarre. But then he meets Candide again, the old woman there, and he says, "Oh, I thought you died. You were raped, and you had your guts pulled out." Basically, she says, "Well, yes, both were true, but not both are necessarily fatal." It's like, okay, and so they go across the world, and they're in basically down the Amazon, and he meets her brother, and he says, "Oh, I'm so glad you're alive too, and that I'm gonna marry your sister." And he says, "No, you're not." He says, "Yes, I am," and then runs him through with his sword, so he kills her brother. It's just okay. Then he goes back. Then he comes back. Well, first of all, he's with another sort of a slave friend, and they go to El Dorado, and they come back with gold, diamonds, you name it, and they're filthy rich. But Candide goes back. He stays to find her and bring her back. So he's back, and all these other adventures, and then they find out that his tutor wasn't killed. So nobody stays dead, nor her brother is dead. So they all wind up, like the old woman and all this. They all wind up after various adventures through on sea and land, and I think it's Turkey, and they start a farm, and it just sort of ends with, well, it could be worse. It's just all events form a chain in the best of all possible worlds. For in the end, if you had not been given a good kick up the backside and chased out of the beautiful castle for loving Miss Candide, and you hadn't been subjected to the Inquisition, and if you hadn't wandered about America on foot, and if you hadn't dealt the Baron a good blow with your sword, and if you hadn't lost your sheep from the fine country of El Dorado, and you wouldn't be here now eating candied citron and pistachio nuts. That is well put, replied Candide, but we must cultivate our garden. It is absolutely bizarre, but I love it. It's absurd is the easiest way to put it. But yeah, and I haven't. There's this here edition, the Oxford World Classic, is Candide and Other Stories. There's Micromegas in it. What else? Zadig, What Pleases the Ladies. Yeah. The Ingenue and the White Bull, and I haven't read those yet. I'll probably fill those in as time goes on, because I don't think I've read them all, but I've read some of them. So just an enjoyable read. If you haven't read it, this is a really good translation. That's by Roger Pearson, and a lot of earlier ones were obviously censored, and the naughty bits were taken out. So that's Candide by Voltaire. Thank you, BookTube.